At the charity gala, Julian Holt lifted the champagne flute had just sipped from to the lips of his protégé, Isabella Vance. I pulled out my phone and scheduled an abortion for 3 days later. At the same time, I had my lawyer send the divorce papers to Julian. When Julian received the email, he called me in a rage. "What kind of joke is this, Clara? Just because I offered Isabella a sip of champagne?" "Yes, it's precisely because you shared a glass of champagne. A donation of 50 million, with the full amount credited to Ms. Vance." The announcement silenced the room, followed by a thunderous, roaring wave of applause. For the rest of the evening, Isabella clung to Julian's arm, playing the part of his devoted protégé. Then, Julian took a sip of his champagne and held the glass to Isabella's lips. That single gesture told me everything. My 10-year marriage was over. I turned and walked away, booking the appointment for the procedure. When I returned to our villa, Julian was already there, reeking of alcohol. The collar of his shirt carried the scent of Isabella's signature perfume. "What was your problem at the gala tonight? You completely embarrassed me." "Look at Isabella. So considerate and thoughtful. Why can't you learn a thing or two from her?" I bit my lips so hard I could taste blood. I thought he would at least try to hide it. "I'm tired. I'm going to bed." I smiled, turned, and went upstairs, dialing a number that had been dormant for years. "Adrian Blackwood, that partnership you proposed a while back. Is the offer still on the table?" Silence on the other end. Then a familiar, low chuckle. "Your terms. I want priority access to Holt Industries' core technology. And I need your help delivering a special gift to Isabella Vance." "I've been waiting 10 years to hear you say that. For you, anything." The next morning, Julian came down to an empty dining table. "Clara, you're getting more and more out of line. Where's breakfast? Did you get some empowered woman nonsense from some online influencer that's gone to your head?" For 10 years, he had expected me to serve him, to come up with new and elaborate meals every single day. I slid the divorce papers across the table to him, a cold smile on my lips. "Sign them. Then you can have Isabella make you whatever you want. I'm done trying to be the perfect, high-achieving corporate wife. I just want to be myself." He stared at the papers, stunned. "What is this? Are you still upset because I didn't comfort you last night? You're really making a mountain out of a molehill. It was a tiny issue, and now you're throwing divorce around." A flicker of hope ignited in my chest. Did he care about me after all? Just then, Julian's phone rang. A video call from Isabella. He answered it right in front of me, without a hint of shame. On the screen, Isabella's face was covered in red hives. "Julian, I feel awful." Julian's expression changed instantly. The raw panic in his eyes was something I'd never seen, not even when I was hospitalized. It suffocated me. "Isabella, what's wrong? Where are you?" "The hospital," she sobbed. "That champagne last night. I'm having an allergic reaction all over my body. I can barely breathe." Julian's voice was a gentle caress. "Don't be scared, Isabella. I'm on my way." A sharp slap cracked across my face. "Clara, how could you be so vicious? You know she's allergic to strawberries. Why was there strawberry in that champagne?" "How ironic," I said, my voice dripping with scorn. "You can't even remember that strawberries are my favorite fruit. Yet you remember her allergies with perfect clarity. 10 years of marriage, worth less than 3 years with your protégé. You're a real class act, Mr. Holt." In a blind fury, he snatched a pen and furiously scrawled his signature on the divorce papers. "Get out. Get out now. And stop embarrassing the Holt name." I pulled an ultrasound photo from my purse. "The baby is gone, just as you wished. Now there's nothing to threaten your precious, epic love story with Isabella." At the same time, I picked up the birthday gift ID left on his desk, a fountain pen engraved with his initials, and put it in my bag. It had cost me 3 months' salary. He hadn't even glanced at it. I grabbed my packed suitcase and walked out of the cage that had imprisoned me for a decade, without looking back. In the elevator, I took out my phone and dialed the familiar number. "Adrian, I have the core technical data from Holt Industries." As for the pen, the recording device inside captured our entire conversation today. In the apartment bathroom, the sound of the shower masked my sobs. Tears mingled with the blood from the cut on my lip, stinging with both pain and release. This was the last time I would ever cry for Julian Holt. My private doctor examined the bruise on my face and glanced at the abortion records. Ms. Evans. A cold compress will help with the swelling. But this kind of emotional damage. It's fine. You get used to the pain, I said, cutting him off with a smile. The doctor sighed. It's the classic story, isn't it? First comes love. Then comes the pain. You're very brave. Brave. No. I was just a naive fool. Late at night, I sat at my laptop, my fingers flying across the keyboard. Cold, hard data flowed onto the screen, the lifeblood of Julian's company. I looked at the pen beside me, and memories flooded in uninvited. In college, a dazzlingly handsome Julian Holt knelt before me at the entrance to the cafeteria, holding a bouquet of wildflowers he'd picked from Walknoshire. Clara Evans. I swear I'll always be your biggest supporter, never letting you back down. As all the girls in school screamed with envy, I blushed and nodded. Back then, I thought that was a promise for a lifetime. In the early days of his startup, we lived in a tiny apartment, our desk piled high with business plans and financial reports. He would hold my hand, his eyes filled with determination. Clara, you're the only one who can calm my nerves. If I ever let you down, you won't have to say a word. I'll just leave. Head smiled so brightly. There's that saying going around. All men do is lie. But I, Julian Holt, don't fall into the category of men. I turned the pen over. Inside the cap, the two words I had personally engraved, "Our beginning," came into view. In 10 years, he had never once noticed them. A broken, hysterical laugh echoed through the silent apartment. This pen, which he had never used, was just like my love for him, pathetically one-sided. My phone buzzed. A voice message from Adrian. Are you feeling any better tonight? His gentle question warmed my heart. As I was about to reply, a memory flashed in my mind. The first time Isabella appeared at the company. She was just an intern then, timidly calling me by my name. Once, she made a mistake on a project, and Julian lost his temper, his face livid as he berated her until she was on the verge of tears. Feeling sorry for her, I pulled her aside later to offer some comfort. It's okay. Everyone makes mistakes when they're new. Just be more careful next time. Isabella grabbed my hand, her eyes welling with tears. You're so kind, Clara. When I turned, I saw Julian watching us with a complicated expression. Scrutiny, curiosity, and something darker I couldn't decipher at the time. I understand it now. It was annoyance, a warning for me to mind my own business. His loyalties, perhaps even then, had already begun to shift. As the company grew, the business dinners became endless. He came home later and later, the faint, familiar scent of my perfume on his shirts replaced by a cocktail of strong, unfamiliar fragrances. Once, when he was drunk, I heard him mumbling in his sleep. Isabella, stop it. His voice was so soft, so gentle, like a feather stroking the heart, but lined with thorns. I told myself he was drunk. That had mistaken me for someone else. How ridiculous. All the clues were there. It wasn't that I didn't see them. I just didn't want to believe them. I had woven a cage of my own making called trust and locked myself inside. Absurd. Laughable. Pathetic. My phone buzzed again. A text from an unknown number. Ms. Evans. Mr. Holt was hospitalized tonight. We heard it's because you left. He regrets everything. Maybe you should. My heart pounded, my fingers trembling as I opened the reply box. Suddenly, the screen changed, revealing the truth. It was a scam. A mass-sent phishing text. I laughed coldly, turned off my phone, and took out the file containing Holt Industries' core technical data, the part even Julian didn't know about. This was my real leverage, compared to his fake apologies. This had actual value. Adrian's call came at the perfect moment. I answered calmly. Thank you for the pen, Adrian. Now, tell me where you need me to sign for that core technology. Adrian tossed the investigation report on the table in front of me. Isabella Vance. Real name, Vanessa Reed. A top-tier corporate spy. His voice was frighteningly calm. She infiltrated Holt Industries 3 years ago with a clear objective. My fingers traced over the cold, hard facts. In the photos, her smile was as sweet as ever, but her eyes were as cold as a snake's. 3 years. For 3 whole years, I had suspected nothing. So my 10-year marriage was just a farce to everyone else. I started to laugh, but tears streamed down my face uncontrollably. That bastard Julian. He destroyed everything we had for a spy. Adrian looked at me with concern. Are you okay? Never been better, I said, wiping away the tears and opening my phone's photo gallery. The picture was still there. Julian with his arm around Isabella's waist, kissing her in an elevator. The cleaning lady who sent it to me had looked at me with such pity. Ma'am, I've worked here for 20 years and seen too many tragedies. Don't wait until all the assets are gone before you wake up. At the time, I clung to a sliver of hope. Looking back now, it was utterly laughable. When are they planning to make their move? I asked. Soon, Adrian said, frowning. Isabella has already acquired most of Holt Industries' core technology. I sneered and pulled the fountain pen from my bag. Who would have thought that this birthday present, never once used by Julian, would become my greatest weapon? A listening device. Adrian looked at me in surprise. When did you? I took it the day I left. I played the recording. Julian and Isabella's voices were crystal clear as they discussed how to transfer company assets and steal competitor secrets. The more I listened, the colder my heart grew. The man who once loved me had willingly become a puppet for a spy. Have you traced the offshore accounts? I asked. Adrian handed me another file. The money trail is complex, involving multiple currencies and countries. There's an organization pulling the strings. She's not just his protege, he said sarcastically. She's a professional. My fingertips brushed over the long strings of numbers. An image of Julian's furious face as he signed the divorce papers flashed in my mind. He thought he was in control of everything, but he was just a pawn in someone else's game. There's one more crucial piece of information, Adrian said mysteriously. On the 15th of every month, Isabella meets someone with the codename The Crow at the old shipyard. Tomorrow is the 15th. I'm going, I said firmly. I want to see her true colors with my own eyes. Adrian hesitated. It's too dangerous. What? You think I'm just some fragile decoration too? My voice rose sharply before I laughed at myself. Sorry. I'm just so tired. Night fell, and the wind at the old shipyard was bow-chilling. We hid behind a stack of shipping containers, the distant lights casting long shadows. Isabella arrived right on time. A man in a suit approached her and handed her a black USB drive. The data is all here, the man said in a low voice. Excellent work, Isabella replied, her voice smooth and seductive. Julian is such an idiot. He doesn't even realize his wife is actually divorcing him. All I have to do is cry on the phone for a minute, and he's ready to hand me the entire company. My fists clenched, my nails digging into my palms. So my pain was just a joke to her. I had given everything for Julian, only to end up with this cruel mockery. Back at my apartment, I sat in front of my computer, my fingers trembling over the keyboard. Adrian stood silently by my side, waiting for my decision. Help me look up what stocks Isabella has invested in recently, I said suddenly. What are you planning? If they want a show, I'll give them one they'll never forget. I hit send, and a post instantly went live on my social media. They say all lies are eventually exposed. Can't wait to see Mr. Holt's empire crumble. Get your popcorn ready. I sat at my computer, fingers flying across the keyboard. One by one, I compiled the core technical files of Holt Industries, including the fatal flaws in their designs that not even Julian knew about. I knew this data better than anyone. For 10 years, I had been involved in the core development of every single project. Now, these files would be the weapons that buried his company. The anonymous emails were sent. Recipients: top international tech media outlets and Holt Industries' fiercest competitors. I also sent out the audio evidence from the specially designed fountain pen. Every private conversation between Isabella and Julian would become the final straw that broke them. Adrian's team of hackers came through with good news. Clara, we're in. We've breached Isabella's computer. His voice buzzed with excitement. You won't believe what we found. Communication logs filled the screen. A complete list of Isabella's transactions with overseas buyers, with a clear price tag for every piece of stolen technology. Holt Industries' latest chip patent was at the top of the list. Price: $50 million US. My hands clenched into tight fists. This woman hadn't just stolen my husband. She was trying to destroy my life's work. The news broke faster than I could have imagined. Holt Industries' core technology completely leaked. Multiple RD projects forcibly halted. Stock price plummets by 50. Even the anchors on the financial news channels were stunned. This is one of the most shocking scandals in corporate history. I watched Julian on TV, looking utterly overwhelmed, and a wave of satisfaction washed over me. At an emergency board meeting, Isabella was a portrait of manufactured grief. She pointed at a picture of me, her voice trembling. It was all Clara. She was bitter about the divorce and did this to get revenge on the company. She threatened me. She said she would make Holt Industries pay. The Clara I see now is a different person, you know what they say. Hell hath no fury like a woman scorned. She's become completely unhinged. Julian's face was a dark storm cloud. He actually believed her. Adrian let out a cold laugh and released more evidence. Ironclad proof of Isabella using her intimate relationship with Julian to steal company secrets for years. Transaction records of her selling the technology to overseas entities. But the most damning piece was a forged psychiatrist's report. It claimed that I had been diagnosed with paranoid personality disorder and exhibited extreme vindictive tendencies. I stared at the report, shaking with rage. To frame me, this woman had stooped to this level. But the real bombshell was yet to come. The moment the surveillance video was leaked, the internet erupted. The Isabella in the video was a world away from her usual tearful, fragile persona. She was laughing, her eyes glinting with calculation. Julian Holt. He's the easiest fool to deceive. Her voice came through, crisp and clear. As soon as I get my hands on all his shares, Holt Industries can go bankrupt for all I care. 3 years. I've played the good little protege for 3 years. It's finally time to cash out. When Julian saw the video, he looked as if had been struck by lightning. He rushed to Isabella's apartment, only to find it empty. A single letter lay on the table. My dearest Julian, by the time you read this, it'll be long gone. Thank you for your generosity over the years. It's made me a very wealthy woman. Your foolishness and arrogance made you almost too easy to manipulate. By the way, I never loved you. It was always about the money. Have fun with the bankruptcy. The one you'll never have. Isabella. Holt Industries stock continued to freefall. With its reputation in ruins, the company faced liquidation. Julian called me frantically, sent endless messages, all of which I blocked. For the first time in his life, he felt true panic and despair. Meanwhile, with Adrian's help, I founded my own tech consulting firm. At the press conference, I made my debut as the company's founder. Under the glare of the camera flashes, I was radiant. On a split screen, the broadcast showed Julian, disheveled and broken. A reporter asked, "Ms. Evans, do you have any comment on the fate of your ex-husband, Julian Holt?" I offered a faint smile. The market is a battlefield. If you're outmaneuvered, you have no one to blame but yourself. As for Mr. Holt, I have only one thing to say. I looked directly into the camera, my eyes devoid of warmth. You reap what you sow. I was signing documents in my new office when a familiar figure in the periphery caught my eye. Julian was back again. For the 37th day in a row, Adrian set down a cup of coffee, his brow furrowed. Should I call security? No need. I didn't look up, but the pressure of my pen on the paper hardened. Let him wear himself out. What was once Holt Industries was now nothing but a ruin. I heard Head sold off all his assets, including the villa we once shared. Good. At least I wouldn't have to see those hollow memories again. It was raining heavily. Through the floor-to-ceiling window, I could see him standing downstairs, soaked to the bone, but refusing to move. The once dashing CEO now looked like a homeless man. I turned away and continued with my meeting. When I left work, the rain was still pouring. Julian blocked my car. "Clara," he said, his voice raw and hoarse. His eyes held the look of a dog abandoned by its owner. I was wrong. Please, come back to me. Move. I'll give up everything. I just want you. I lit a cigarette, looking at him coldly through the car window. Mr. Holt, I've never seen you so desperate. Does Miss Vance know you're here? Isabella lied to me. Julian slammed his hands on the car window. She played me. She was the one who leaked the company's secrets. Oh, a corner of my mouth lifted. So it wasn't me. Getting revenge out of a broken heart. Rain streamed down his face, making it impossible to tell if he was crying. He had lost so much weight. His suit hung loosely on his frame. For a moment, my heart softened. 10 years of marriage wasn't nothing. Get in, I said, rolling down the window. You'll catch a cold. Hope flared in his eyes as he scrambled into the passenger seat. Thank you, Clara. I knew you still cared about me, he said, reaching for my hand. I slammed my foot on the accelerator. Buckle up. We're going somewhere. Julian had rented a small apartment near my office. As he showed me the cramped space, I saw our wedding photo on his bedside table, next to a bottle of the hand cream I used to use. I use it every day. It smells like you, he said, his voice thick with emotion. A jolt went through me. When had Julian become so sentimental? I found all our old photos, he said, handing me an album. Remember this one? Our first date. Your smile was so beautiful. Stop, I snapped, slamming the album shut. Cut the act. Julian, what do you want? I want to beg you to come back, he said, dropping to one knee. I sold everything to pay off the debts. I have nothing left now but my love and regret for you. I laughed. Don't you think it's a little late for that? Julian, it's not too late, he insisted. If you can forgive me, I can start over from nothing. But I don't love you anymore. He looked as if he'd been physically struck. He clutched his chest, gasping for air like a drowning man. That's impossible, Clara. You're just trying to punish me, right? I know I hurt you so badly. I cut him off. It's not about punishment. The love is just gone. The same way your eyes told me you had fallen for Isabella. My eyes are telling you the truth now. No, Clara, please. Just give me one more chance. I pushed the door open, leaving him with my final words. Get a job. Julian, begging doesn't suit you. Back in my car, I lit another cigarette and took a long drag. My phone screen lit up. It was Adrian. How did it go? Everything went according to plan, I replied. He bought it completely. He's even more desperate than we anticipated. I gently stroked the USB drive in my hand. On it was a complete backup of all of Holt Industries' data, including the secret patents Isabella never had the chance to sell. Rain hammered against the car window. I rolled it down, my gaze fixed on the face of the man who had once been so powerful. We're divorced. Julian. He was a wreck, his suit soaked through, hair plastered to his forehead. The man who had caused me so much pain was now standing before me like a stray dog. Clara, I'm begging you. A sharp pain shot through my chest. This scene Julian begging for my forgiveness was once all I had ever wanted. Now, it was just a bitter irony. The sight of you right now just makes me sick. His eyes flickered. He pulled from his pocket the wedding ring I had once spent a fortune on for him. I remembered him tossing it into a drawer without a second glance. You gave this to me. I've treasured it all this time. His lie was nauseating. With a trembling hand, he tried to slide it onto my finger. Just give me one more chance. My vision blurred. For a split second, I almost gave in. The familiar touch of his fingertips on my wrist made my chest tighten. Realizing my weakness, I snatched my hand back. Don't bother. This ring is beneath me now, I said coldly. And your touch would only dirty my hand. The car door opened. Adrian stood in the rain, his suit immaculate. He walked directly to me, wrapped a protective arm around my waist, and stared Julian down. Mr. Holt, Clara is my fiancée now. I suggest you show some respect. Julian recoiled as if he'd been slapped. Fiancée? So fast, he mumbled, his face ashen. In that moment, I saw a reflection of my former self in his eye, the desperate woman, abandoned and weeping in the rain. A sudden, sharp thrill of victory shot through me. Not that fast, I said softly. Much slower than you and Isabella. I say. Julian stumbled backward, the rain blurring his vision. I once thought his pain would bring me peace. Drive, I told the chauffeur, turning away. In the rearview mirror, his figure shrank in the rain until he was just a dark, blurry speck. I expected to feel triumphant, but a heavy weight settled in my chest, making it hard to breathe. Adrian's hand covered mine. Don't be sad, he said gently. He's not worth it. I nodded, pulling a notice from my handbag. It was from Interpol. Isabella Vance, wanted for corporate espionage and multiple counts of fraud, had been apprehended. Attached was a photo of her at the time of her arrest. The woman who had always looked so pitiful was now a snarling, cornered criminal. A smile touched my lips, but I didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Are we still proceeding with the engagement ceremony? Adrian asked. I looked out the window. Of course. My gaze fell on a massive billboard advertising the merger of my company with Adrian's together. We were the new titans of the industry. So many people had tried to use me as a stepping stone. Now, they were all beneath my feet. The champagne tower glittered under the brilliant lights of the ballroom. I walked with Adrian on my arm, accepting congratulations from our guests. Tonight was a celebration of our successful merger. And it was also our engagement party. Ms. Evans, Mr. Blackwood, congratulations. A true power couple. A perfect match. The chairman of a partner company toasted us. You're too kind, Mr. Wong, I replied with a smile. Exchanging a glance with Adrian. Amid the applause, I spotted a familiar figure. Julian, dressed in a waiter's uniform, was weaving through the crowd with a tray. His eyes never left me. My brow furrowed for a moment before I looked away. Adrian led me by the hand onto the stage, and the room erupted in applause. He took the microphone, his voice calm and magnetic. Thank you all for taking the time to be here tonight to witness this milestone for Evans and Blackwood, and to share in my and Clara's joy. Before he could finish, Julian suddenly rushed the stage. He was holding a shabby-looking strawberry cake. The box crumpled and worn. The entire hall fell silent. Clara. His knees buckled, and he fell to the ground with a thud, holding the pathetic cake box high above his head. Happy birthday. I know it's 10 years late. I was stunned. Strawberry cake. It was all I had wanted for my 18th birthday. I had dropped hints for a solid month, but he had bought me a chocolate mousse instead, saying strawberry cake was too childish. He remembered now. This used to be your favorite. His voice broke, and tears streamed down his face. I remember it all now. I remember everything you like. Guests in the audience began to recognize him, and whispers rippled through the crowd. Isn't that Julian Holt, from the old Holt Industries? What happened to him? My God, what is he doing? Proposing? Begging for forgiveness? Adrian's expression hardened. His arm tightened around my waist, pulling me behind him as he addressed the audience. Security. I gently pushed Adrian's arm away and took a step forward, looking down at the kneeling man. He stared up at me, his eyes bloodshot, filled with a desperate plea. Julian, I said, my voice calm but carrying to every corner of the room. A 10-year late, nearly spoiled cake. What exactly do you think that makes up for? The last bit of color drained from his face. His lips trembled. Clara, I truly know I was wrong. Let me spend the rest of my life making it up to you. Please. It's too late. I shook my head slowly. From now on, Adrian will be the one to remember my birthday. He'll be the one to celebrate with me. As for the rest of your life, that has nothing to do with me. 2 large security guards swiftly mounted the stage, grabbing Julian by the arms and effortlessly hauling him to his feet. Clara, give me one more chance. I can't live without you. He struggled wildly, his voice hoarse and desperate. The cheap cake box fell to the floor, the cake tumbling out, instantly ruined by the dust. Please, Clara. I didn't look back. I took Adrian's arm again and smiled at him. He understood, taking the microphone as his composure returned. A minor interruption. My apologies. Now, shall we continue? Behind us, the champagne tower began to flow again, its cascading streams refracting the light into a dazzling display. The applause returned, even louder this time, as if to drown out the unpleasantness of the last few moments. Julian's cries faded into the distance until they were gone completely. 3 years later, bright sunlight streamed through the blinds, casting dappled patterns on my polished mahogany desk. My assistant knocked and entered. Ms. Evans. There's some news. Go on, I said without looking up from the document I was reviewing. Julian Holt is dead. The pen in my hand paused for a fraction of a second, leaving a tiny ink blot on the page. How? Apparently, he collapsed 2 nights ago while washing dishes in the kitchen of a small restaurant. He was gone by the time they got him to the hospital. The doctor's report cited long-term malnutrition and sudden myocardial infarction, brought on by overexertion. My assistant's tone was flat, as if reporting on a routine business matter. I see, I said, signing my name at the bottom of the document. Is there anything else? No, Ms. Evans. She exited the office quietly. Outside, the sky was a brilliant, cloudless blue. I glanced down and saw Adrian's car pulling into his reserved spot downstairs. He was taking me to inspect the new estate we'd purchased in the countryside. It was where we would hold our wedding next month. And it would be our new home. I closed the file, picked up my handbag, and stood to leave. As I passed the break room, I overheard two new interns whispering, "Hey, did you hear? Our boss ex-husband, that Julian Holt guy from the old Holt Industries, he died. For real." How? I thought he just went bankrupt and disappeared. I know, right? I heard he spent the last few years working odd jobs in cheap restaurants, washing dishes, waiting tables. Just a total mess. The other day he was working in the kitchen and just dropped dead. Man, how the mighty have fallen. To think how powerful he used to be. Serves him right. A scumbag like that. After how he treated MS Evans. He got what he deserved. It's karma. I didn't break my stride as I walked to the elevator. The mirrored doors slid shut, reflecting my image perfectly. A tailored, cream-colored business suit accentuated my confident posture. My makeup was flawless. My lipstick a bold, bright red. On my wrist, the new diamond bracelet from Adrian sparkled under the light. I looked at my reflection and allowed myself a small, satisfied smile. The ocean breeze was warm and salty. I stood barefoot on the sand of our private island. Adrian stood before me, sliding the wedding ring onto my finger. Engraved on the inside were the words, "CA forever," he said. "Clara, thank you. Let me spend the rest of my life loving you and making up for all the pain you endured." Tears finally, stubbornly, fell. Not of sadness, but of release, of rebirth. "Meeting you," I said, "was the greatest fortune of my life." The Clara Evans who was once so broken, so small, was dead. She had died with every act of Julian's neglect, died with every one of Isabella's vicious schemes, died in the cold emptiness of that marriage. Julian Holt. The name was once a tiny thorn, lodged deep in my soul. His triumphant smile at his wedding, Isabella's smug look as she clung to his arm, those were the nightmares that haunted me for so long. Now, that thorn had long been removed. Roots and all. In the script of my life, Julian Holt didn't even qualify as a supporting character. At most, he was part of the background scenery, a forgotten footnote, there only to highlight my own happiness. His only purpose had been to remind me never to make the same mistake again, never to waste a single drop of emotion on a man who wasn't worth it. After the ceremony, Adrian and I boarded the yacht to return home. The wind was gentle on my face as I leaned against his shoulder, watching the sun sink below the horizon. Adrian tightened his arm around me, holding me closer. "What are you thinking about?" he asked. I shook my head and pressed a kiss to his cheek. "I'm thinking that our future is going to be beautiful." Yes, beautiful. A new future, without Julian Holt, filled only with love and light. He, Julian, and everything he brought with him, was finally and completely over. The dust had settled. That was all. My life was just beginning.